Hi, everybody. How is everyone tonight? Good, good, good. There were about 40 people, 40 to 50 people who responded to this. So there might be several more who are coming in. I really would love to do a Q&A after I kind of go through like the initial presentation that I have. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the comments because I won't always be able to see them because I'll have like the screen share up. So put them in the comments, and then at the end of the presentation, I'll come back and we can go over all the questions. So does anyone have any questions? Can you not hear me? Oh, okay. No sound. Amy, are you not able to hear me?
I can hear.
Good, good, good. All right, so we'll wait just another moment or two, and then I will get started. And everybody here has an AO device, correct? So I'm not going to be speaking AO language. Okay, that's what I thought. Wonderful. I'm excited to hear everyone's, thoughts about it since you've had one, and what experiences you've had with it, because it truly has been remarkable for a lot of people that I work with, as well as myself and my family. So, okay, so let's screen share and we can get started. Does anyone have a question before we start? No? Okay. Okay. So again, welcome to interpreting your AO scan results. There's a lot of results, as you all very well know, when it comes to looking at what information the AO scanner gives us. So before I get into like the actual results, I'll pull them up so you can see I scanned myself today. I just kind of want to go through some of these, just some basic, I guess, housekeeping items that I think will be very important, both for understanding exactly what it's doing, but also if you use it for yourself or for your patients or clients, explaining it to them. This might give you an easier way to explain it to them as well, so that they get it a little bit better. So what is frequency? Essentially, frequency is an electrical measurable rate of energy flow that's between any 2 points. So everything literally in our universe has its own frequency, or a thousands upon thousands of different frequencies that essentially make up that particular person or a rock or material or whatever it might be. So when we see frequency, it's kind of like this. We've got waves that are different frequencies, essentially. The AO scan itself, as you guys probably very well know, it scans over 120,000 different frequencies in our body that as a whole essentially create who we are as people, as a person. It creates our own individual energetic makeup. So every cell type is going to have a completely different frequency. For example, blue eyes are a different frequency, a different wavelength than our brown eyes. And some of these frequencies change, right? A lot of us, we go silver or we go gray, and that is actually a change in the frequency of the hair follicle that makes a difference. I've actually seen, I think some of you guys might have terahertz machines, and I've been seeing pictures about hair color changing after people are using it, and that is essentially the frequency of a normal healthy cell So it makes sense if you're using it on hair that has gone gray, if you're changing that frequency again, it makes sense that that potentially could go and change color. So really cool information. If someone has a story about that, I'd love to hear it, by the way. So again, our liver cells are, have a different frequency than our heart cells, smooth muscle cells versus skeletal cells, except essentially every hormone is going to carry its own frequency as well. So TSH, your thyroid level versus a cortisol or steroid, your estrogen level, they all have a different frequency that says this is this level. So if you were to look at a picture of what we would be if we only saw frequencies and numbers, it would literally be like the matrix. It would be just like this. The foundational principles, universal language of our universe is numbers. So in modern medicine, we use frequencies all the time. We don't call it that. And in fact, doctors don't even think about it like that. I didn't think about it like that until I started thinking about it like that. But, we use EEGs, we use EKG machines. An EEG machine is the brainwave frequency of your brain. And we measure those and we look at them, and depending on what's happening to them, we can tell if there's something going on that is not normal. This magnetoencephalograph is an MRI, but it's not touching you. So essentially what it's measuring are the waves coming off of our body that are oscillating off of our body and away from us. And that's actually what it measures. The Heart Math Institute is another really, it's a great place that has lots of studies. They've studied the effect of frequency specifically on the heart. Different emotions have a different frequency. If you're talking about high level emotions, joy, peace, etc., those have a more calming effect on our heart, on our actual, the frequency of it and the erratic ability of it. It's less erratic when we have those emotions that we're coming in contact with. When we have emotions that are sad or fearful is when we see the heart rhythms change. So just by having those emotions impact us, our frequency can change. So here we have a picture of essentially someone with their own energy field. We each have an energy field around us just like this. And when we have the environment come in contact with us, whether it's the foods we eat or the toxins that are in the air or the water that we drink or the negative people that we have conversation with, that is impacting our field either constructively or destructively. So those emotions or thoughts or food or water are either helping us as far as our health, or they are causing potential blockages in the energy that surrounds us in this field. And that's what we're seeing on the AO scanner when we're having those scanned. It's actually looking for those frequencies that have potentially been blocked. So here, this is just kind of a good example. You have two tides that are pools of water with a ripple of water that's moving. As they come in contact with each other, they will, depending on the frequency of the water, they'll actually augment and become bigger, right? The frequency is raised, essentially, if you want to think about it in those terms, versus a wine glass. If we have a destructive tone or pitch that someone's singing, the frequency of that tone actually interferes with the molecules of the wine glass and causes it to shatter, which is what we would consider a destructive frequency. So we have a lot of examples of destructive frequencies. Carcinogens specifically, we know, such as Agent Orange, glyphosate, and many, many other types of carcinogens. Cigarettes probably would be right in line with that. What they do is they actually interfere with the nano repair pathway in our cells. So the frequency for cell repair is actually interfered by Agent Orange, glyphosate, and other carcinogens. It stops it from being able to get to your body. And so when we don't have repair of our cells, what happens? Well, we end up having abnormal cell growth, which turns in potentially to cancer, right? Sugar is another very destructive frequency, depending on the amount that we eat. You know, we talk about that all the time. I mentioned the low vibrational emotions like fear and sadness. Grief is another one. Particular foods have really, really high destructive frequencies like canola oil, genetically modified foods, red food dye. And then, of course, you know, medications are very beneficial and very needed for many people. But we also need to keep in mind that medications can have their own potential side effects because they're blocking frequencies in our body. So they might be helping with the blood pressure or our mood, but they're causing dry mouth, right? So we always have to think about those things. What we might be augmenting in one area, we might not be helping in another area. So here's just a really good example of this system that was developed by this guy, Bruce Tanio. Essentially, he measured the frequency of healthy humans and where disease starts, where colds and flu starts, etc. He found that certain essential oils like rose oil are very, very high frequency. They have a lot of good healthy augmentation in them in terms of our health. He found that colds and flu will only start below a certain frequency of this particular one that he was measuring. And he found that cancer starts at about 42 hertz, which is way below where colds and flu start. And then if you see kind of down here, it says death begins at 25 hertz. And what we see is when we look at shame, this is down at 20. Fear is down at 100. Now these are differences in how they're measuring them. This is not in hertz, but what you'll see is the lower frequency emotions. You know, fear itself is at 19 hertz. As far as the actual hertz, it's actually below the process of where death begins in our body. So sitting in emotions like that all the time, as many of you probably know, especially with the inner voice piece, it actually starts to shut down frequencies and block areas in our body, and instead of being able to harmonize and be in balance. So this is why the inner voice part of the AO scan is, I feel, absolutely essential when it comes to our health, because it's directly in line with disease processes. So examples of constructive frequencies, we have high vibrational emotions, like I talked about. Certain essential oils are very, very high vibration. You can see over here, rose oil 320, frankincense is 147. A healthy human was at 65. So the differences between them, putting ourselves around high frequency essences, flowers, foods, water that are higher, are going to help us in terms of our health. Exercise, obviously within limits. You know, if it's too stressful on the body, that can cause problems. And then of course, certain vibrations, tones, and frequencies. So for example, we found that like a cup of coffee can drop our frequency by about 10 to 12 hertz. Using peppermint essential oil can help raise the frequency by about 10 to 12 hertz, as well as our positive thoughts. We found that having a positive thought for a particular period of time can actually raise your frequency by about 10 hertz, as well as meditation and certain prayer rituals. Having one cigarette can drop our frequency down to the carcinogenic level at 42 hertz. Imagine that. It doesn't stay there, but it can drop us there during that time. So welcome to the AO frequency scanner. Then we have all this information in terms of how it works and essentially what our bodies are doing as far as frequency. So for interpretation, every lab value that you're going to see in the AO, as far as particularly in the vitals is more where I'm talking, has a normal, quote unquote, normal frequency that's associated with it, okay? So it's kind of like a pendulum, if you can think about it like that. And we have, again, just destructive frequencies, which can both interfere and block that normal signal. So anytime we have a slight change in that channel or signal that goes to the body, it's almost like changing the radio, you know, and it's where you're getting that static and it's not quite clear. It's like that. So when we're looking, and I'm going to show you the report here in just a moment, but when we're looking at the report and we see it moving towards, you know, the 8s and the 9s or the 2s and the 1s, that's more where we have more static in there. And so the body is not necessarily getting a really clear signal at that moment, okay, in the moment that we check the vitals report. All right. So again, we can kind of see here, we have these frequencies, and depending on where what static or what's interfering, it could change it to a longer frequency wavelength or a shorter frequency with a longer wavelength. It really just depends, depending on what has come in contact with you, with your body, that is changing or impacting that particular frequency in your body. So again, the static blocks the effect of the signal, and it can give us mixed signals per se. So for the AO interpretation itself, we pre-scan, we optimize, and then we will post-scan. During the optimization itself, specific tones, vibrations, and frequencies are played that are specific to each value that was pre-scanned. Because it's doing such a broad set of values, it's almost like a shotgun approach, where sometimes it can overshoot just a little bit. And that's often why we might see values that go the opposite direction, if it's overshooting just a little bit. And I'll show you some of that in my scan as well. It's and a good way to visualize it is almost like lithotripsy. If you have a kidney stone, what we do in order to get rid of kidney stones at times is a technique called lithotripsy, which is where they have sound that goes in, and the sound molecules actually break up the calcium so that it can then pass through the body and not be quite so painful. So it's very similar in terms of how it works. And sometimes that's an easy visual that you can get. So assessing the AO report, let me take you to stop share. Go. Sorry, guys. All right. You see this, or no? I stopped the share, so you probably aren't seeing this, are you? Let's restart that. Okay. So this is my vitals report from today. You can see here, we're looking at
go back here because the
I'm sorry. Was there a question? No? Okay. Okay, so what you can see here, the before, the previous is on the right-hand side, the current is towards the middle. So, we're looking at this. I have quite a few 5s and 6s, which are considered the goal, right, as far as where we want to go. And after optimization, I actually move away from some of the 5s and 6s and go towards some 7s some 3s, but I also move away from more 1s and 9s. So it's more of a balance, even though I have them go from, I guess perfectly normal of 5 and it goes to a 7. It's more of a balance of the overall distribution of everything. Same with, I have 9s go into 7s and 8s. Here I have a 3 going to a 1 and a 2 going to a 1. But then I have more 6s, 4s, 6s and 4s, and more that are in the middle versus that are oranges and reds, if that makes sense. And one thing that I would like to make sure is really clear is that even though it's showing up in the energetic, it does not mean that it's manifesting in the physical or that you have problems with it in the physical. But what it does is it can be a big clue to us as far as what might be chronic or what might be acute. But it's a good way for us to be able to watch and monitor that particular value or set of values that you're looking at to find out if it is an acute issue or if it's more chronic. So for example, when you're looking at vitamins and things like that, and it's showing your B vitamins are off and other vitamins are off. Well, if someone's coming in to see me and we're trying to figure out, from a functional medicine standpoint, things that they need in order to just affect the overall health and help with the balance and harmony, in addition to what they're doing with the AO scanner, I make sure that we don't just supplement with every single thing that's showing up on this scan, because that doesn't mean that they necessarily need it. So we can do one of two things. I can muscle test and ask questions, or as they continue to do more scans and they take a look at it, if it's continually popping up, even after, it's optimized every single time we run the scan, that's when it is then known as being a chronic deficiency. And then we should definitely go ahead and supplement. And that way we're not getting more than what we need from a supplement standpoint, because we can do that and get in trouble with that too. Just like with everything else, too much of a good thing can cause problems. I unfortunately saw a 24-year-old come in and from eating gummy vitamins, of all things, she ate so many of them that it destroyed her liver, and she didn't make it. It was horrific, what it did, and she thought she was doing a good thing. They tasted great, and she's getting all her vitamins, right? So we don't always need everything that is popping up on this chart as far as what our bodies need. So asking questions is a really good way of determining that, muscle testing, or making sure that you're getting a consistent set of scans. Maybe you do 3 or 4, and then you're seeing if it's continually popping up every single time. Okay. If, for example, there's someone who is acutely sick, like I've used this scanner for people who are in the hospital many times, ones who've had, COVID or other illnesses. And I've been able to use it because I'm scanning them every single day when that is going on, when they're in the hospital. And so I'm seeing vitals every day that are pointing to deficiencies and things like that. And so in that moment, I can say, hey, this person looks like they're low on glutathione. Why don't we go ahead and replace it? Because it's at least going to be beneficial for them and help them get better, but it's not something that, again, I would just say, jump on all these supplements because it's showing that you're low. Okay. I think I'm ready for some questions.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So, do you ever pay attention to what was out of balance before the optimization? Or do you just kind of ignore that and just look at what stayed out of balance?
I will look at what was going on beforehand, especially if they're coming complaining of stuff that relates to that. So a lot of it depends on what they're telling me their chief complaint is, or what it is they feel like is happening. And then I'll definitely look at the before, just to give me an idea, if it's in line with what they're saying, essentially. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where do vitamins show up here on these reports?
Yeah, down at the very bottom. Here's a bunch.
Oh.
So these are all digestive enzymes. Here's macro minerals,
Oh,
iron levels. I've found B12 deficiencies. Here we go. Here's all the B12 stuff, vitamin A's. Yeah, I go from 8 to 9s on a couple of them, which, but then here are a bunch of reds to more towards the middle. Yeah, and even with things like sensitivities, you know, foods that we're sensitive to and everything, depending on what I've eaten, it will pop up as being sensitive if I've just eaten it. If I haven't had it for like a week, it doesn't usually pop up. So that goes in line with, you know, when we do food elimination diets and things like that, I always tell people that they want to be really careful when they reintroduce, because your body, if it was did have an adverse reaction to it, or if it was had an allergy or whatever it might be, it could then become exponentially worse, the reaction. It could blow up and then be even worse for you. So this is a really good tool for finding some of those things, and just knowing, even if it's not something that you feel like you're dealing with every day, food allergies can often be the cause of problems that people don't even relate it to. And just by simply removing that food item from their diet, so many things can change. It was that particular food that was interfering with body processes that were causing destruction.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And I have another question. So on the vitamins that you were, I didn't quite understand why. So I have like a huge supplement library, and I've noticed that sometimes it'll show deficiencies in a couple of things, but yet that's not coming up on my supplement list, even though it's in there. So why would it be showing like low on certain things if you're not low?
So I don't know. I wouldn't look at the low and high, the 9s and 1s, as it being deficient or being in excess, because I don't necessarily think that's what that is. I've had to really look at that part to determine what they meant by it, and it doesn't make sense to me that it means you're deficient or you have too much. What I think it means is that the frequency has changed that much this way versus that much this way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I have to go back. Like, forgot what I was talking about. Okay, so say your question again.
Okay, so whenever it's showing that, say it's showing that you're low, say it's showing like a 1 on B12.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. But yet on the supplement list that it comes up, it's not giving you a B vit, like, so.
Do you have B's already listed as your supplements in there?
Oh yeah, I definitely do.
Okay.
And the supplement, and it's like, I am just amazed at how accurate, like everything else, like if it's saying that the liver, whatever's out, then everything that is giving me for the supplements has to do with whatever it is saying my biggest issues are. I mean, the accuracy is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you had said something about, so I was thinking that maybe that just meant that there was other priorities is what it was working on versus what was low, but it didn't. And that's
because I don't know if it's low.
Okay,
That's what I meant. I don't know if that's telling us that it's low and you need to supplement necessarily. But it's telling us that the frequency is off in that moment when we did the scan. So for whatever reason, it's been interfered with, and potentially if it continues, it could become problematic. We might have an issue with the B12 level or whatever it might be. But if it optimizes just fine, and next time we check it, it's back to normal, it's a non-issue.
okay.
Does that
And
make
so
sense?
It does. I was just curious because so I've noticed a pattern, like it's almost like it just kind of gives me whatever supplements are like the most important. Like if it shows that I'm low in B, it may not give me a B that morning. It's like it'll come out with other supplements that are more important, that I need more than that. And then it won't be till, because I do it 3 times a day. So it's not until like the evening, then the B will pop up. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, that makes sense. So that's great for someone who, since I have this and I use it several times a day, but if you were working with someone who didn't have this and you were just using this every once in a while, how would you handle that?
I wouldn't do supplements for them at all. You can't really, it has to be something they're doing on a regular basis in order to get the benefit from it. I would ask questions, muscle test at that point. If I
Okay.
was trying to determine what they might need and what their bodies are lacking, I would definitely ask questions and see then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, because I found if it shows up, it does get around to it. It's just like it has a priority list first.
Yes. Yep. But it's hard because you really should be scanning almost every day in
Mhm.
order to get a really good knowing as far as your supplements and should I take this. Like the scanner gets to know who you are, right? And so doing it like every couple of weeks and putting your supplements in there, it's just not as effective. And really they should get their own if they're gonna do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anyone else? Let me go to the comment section. I'm not seeing them, but maybe it's because I need to stop share this. Are there questions? Oh,
I have a question.
yes.
Okay, so my grandson needs to have some teeth pulled and they want to do nitrous oxide.
Mhm.
And then in her homeopathic group that she's in, they said, oh, if you have the MTHFR gene mutation, that can lead to death if you take the nitrous oxide because your homocysteine levels go up. Okay, so I ran the scan on him last night, and there's 2 MTHFR genes, the 677T and the A1298C. So the first one, it came out at 2 on the previous and at 4 on the current. And the second one came out 5 on the previous, 7 on the current. So I'm wondering, does that mean it's level, it's okay? Or what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so the second one was 5 to 7 and the first was what you said?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. No, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's abnormal. It just means that the frequency in that moment was not right in the middle in terms of the frequency. So I would scan him. You can scan him again, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 more times and see if he's anywhere between 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are all great. I wouldn't worry about that at all. If he is a red before and then he is only a 2 or 3 after, and that's consistent and that's not changing much, I'd go get a lab draw and go see what that shows at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because then on it's the homocysteine level is what goes up if you have a problem with that gene. So that will raise up so high that can cause death. And his right, last night came out, the previous was 1, the current was 3.
For
So,
homocysteine.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but again, that's just one scan, and histamine,
Right.
what you're talking about is is one function of many. And histamine homocysteine levels by themselves, I'd say probably 10 to 15% of people have levels that are abnormal as far as homocysteine. And oftentimes it's because there's just a vitamin deficiency. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Maybe it's what they're eating. Maybe they do have, a genetic mutation of some sort that's causing it.
Okay.
But I would not worry too much about that,
It's good.
Pam,
A good
unless
one.
it's consistently popping up over and over. It's not changing after continual
Wow, that's a lot.
optimizations, and you're doing other
I want
other
to
work
do a
as well,
selfie
right?
picture of you
So the thing
so I
about
can
our
get you in my scanner
frequencies,
because I can do
especially
stuff
in,
for you too.
so I think someone's talking.
wanna
You
do
might
that.
have
right.
you can turn off your sound for me, please. But our frequencies are impacted by so many things in our environment these days. I mean, truly, we're inundated by way more than we ever were. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it's in everything, right? Everything. So it's multifactorial as far as how we approach disease. The scanner is amazing, but it's not going to fix when we have underlying causes or underlying issues that are causing the insults or the problems to begin with. It can really only do as much as it can do.
Right.
And so I have people really look at all aspects, look at the water they're drinking, look at the foods they're eating, also looking at what they're putting on their body, cologne, deodorants, all those things that have
Yeah,
potentially destructive frequency patterns with them. So,
okay. Yeah, she does a lot of natural oils, the
yeah,
oils, all that kind of stuff with her kids. She's very careful about all those things, homeopathic stuff. And, okay,
I love
then
it.
I'll scan him a few more times and see how that comes out then.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I'm looking at questions in here. Okay, we got that. What does it mean, or how do you explain if it stays at 9 for current as well as previous? Yeah, so that's again something that we would watch. I had 2 or 3 of them on my scan today. I can't remember what they were for. I don't remember. Anyways, but that does happen, and that is probably a key, depending on, or a clue, depending on how often you see that pop up, that it needs to be looked at or addressed. You need to start asking questions. What is, am I deficient in something? And is there something emotional that I need to take care of? Is there something that is it just a quick, using like best therapy or rapid eye technology or something? Is there just something I need to clear from my body that would take care of that? And oftentimes that can be the key. Oh, I think my root chakras, both of them, even after optimization, they both were in the red. And so I said to myself, okay, I need to go take a look at why my root chakra is closed and do some, energy work or whatever. So, I definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so along the same line, just want to kind of have questions about, so when you have, let's say you've done like 5-10 scans for someone, how would you just generally look at the report? Like, where would you go first? Like, what's step 1, step 2? Of course, sometimes it's based on what their concerns are, but like, do you go, for example, you look at parasite first versus, digestions, is there an approach that you do that you find helpful?
It depends on what they're coming in with. If it's migraines, then we're looking at that. We're approaching the emotional. We're looking at the chakra system. We're looking at the cranial sacral system, right? The musculoskeletal system. And then looking at the frequency aspect of things. Is there something they're deficient in? Is there a magnesium issue? You know, whatever that might be. So it really depends. And I always send the scans to people if they come in to see me and have me do their scans for them. I will send them to them. And so I always tell them as they go through and maybe they find patterns, highlight those, bring them back into me. Then we can sit down and talk about them and go through them. So I want them to be as active a participant in their health as I'm going to be for them, because the work isn't just from the scanner, it's also, you know, them doing their own and being self-aware, you know, as far as what's going on in their bodies and what they're doing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And then someone asked, Letty said, how often do you scan and do you usually run the easy scan? You know, I don't do the easy scan. I like the vitals report. I think people in general like the vitals report. My husband does the easy scan every single day, and he loves it and it works great for him. But when I'm doing them for clients or patients, I do the full report, and I want them to also have the full inner voice report. I feel like it has so much information in it, hopeful information that they can get from it that they can utilize, as well as the full vitals report, the meridians, the chakra systems. It's just great information. So I don't really do the easy scan very often. What scan would show parasites? That would be the vitals scan that shows several types of parasites and viruses, bacteria. The vitals is like your blood work. It's what you go in and get drawn for. It's your CBC, your metabolic panel, your cholesterol, checking for diabetes. I mean, you name it. It's literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of information. If you were to go get those labs drawn, all of them, it would be an insane amount of money. Do you use body systems often? I do. Not often. I mean, I'll probably do it for someone like once a month, once every couple of months, unless there's something that really picks up that they want to take a look at. I really like how they break it down. I think it's a very easy to understand, digestible, colorful printout for people, and they really like that. But I don't use it as often as the vitals and the inner voice. Those are the two, and the Cephi, running specific frequencies for a particular problem as well. Is there a difference in what gets optimized in the easy scan versus vitals? Yeah, I think I'm pretty certain, I would have to double check on this, but I'm pretty certain they're only optimizing the biggest outliers in terms of abnormal frequencies. So when you get what you see on the easy scan results is what they are optimizing afterwards. So it's not as comprehensive in terms of how much it's doing.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Peavy. So I have relatives that are in Panama, in countries, and so I'm wondering if I did this correctly. So my sister-in-law is in Texas, and she called her grandmother in Panama and got the recording of her voice and her picture that day, and then sent it to me. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. So the more that we can put in the device, or the more the device can get to energetically create that imprint of the person, the best. But all you need is their voice. And as far as like scanning or optimization, it's more effective again when you get all the senses involved. You can feel the vibrations as well as hear the vibrations. But when we talk about quantum physics, energetically, the people do not have to hear and feel them at all. They can be across the world, they can be in the ICU. In fact, several of the people that I did the scanner for that they were in the ICU, I couldn't even speak to a couple of them. And so it was really the family members sending me the picture, giving me the information. And, you know, I would have, you know, they might even have like the respiratory stuff in their picture. And so I know it's helpful, but had they been able to hear the scan itself, it's just that much more impactful. It's just, you know, you're just getting all the senses involved with it.
Okay, and it doesn't matter if they don't speak English. Any language is okay.
Any language, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome. If I want to run a vital scan for another, how do I do that if they cannot put my headset on? Okay, that's a really good question. So what I do, if I take my scanner, when I take my phone, I have them on my phone with me. I've called them and I basically just, I get all their information in there. I put their, you know, sometimes I even take a picture of them. If I'm on FaceTime, I'll just snap it, upload it, and then I just put them together when I'm running the vitals or the inner voice. I can do my inner voice this way as well. So I put them together. I say, okay, it's counting down 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they speak for 10 seconds. And then they take their phone. They know to have their phone either with headphones themselves, because you don't have to have the bone conducting device, but headphones in your ears, you can feel those vibrations, or they can just hold the phone up and they're hearing from this to this. They're getting all of that as well. So you can scan anyone, anywhere with this device. It is amazing. So, and then, but the vital scan does not ask for a recording. What do you mean a recording? Like it gives a report of, oh, no, the vital scan won't ask for a recording. But you're still, their information is all in there. And as long as they're listening to it and it's on, they're getting all of the input. It's still scanning them and then optimizing afterwards. You don't need their voice for that.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for this presentation tonight, by the way.
You're welcome.
So the experience I've had with the vital scan, and it's really quite a common experience, is it's overwhelming for most people to receive all this information. Can you just run down maybe how you go about addressing that? Because I know people do want to see the information, and the response has always been, it's so overwhelming. I don't know where to start. So I started to not send them. You did mention that you send the reports to your patients and you have them highlight the areas that are 9s or 1s or not changing, and then you have them come into the office and you would discuss with them those issues, or?
Yeah, yes. So you're gonna get a variety of different people who are gonna need a variety of different tools or understandings of their reports, depending on who they are, etc. Right? So there's some people that I send it to them and they probably never look at them, and they're just good with the fact that they've been optimized and it's fabulous. And then you have people that they really like, that they're really trying to figure something out. There's underlying chronic something going on or whatever it might be. And so they're going to pay a lot more attention to it. And so in those cases, what I do is I go over the fact that, one, just because it's showing up, it does not mean it's abnormal, or does not mean that it's manifesting in your body, or mean that we need to really address it right away. Just it says critical, but that doesn't mean that it's this critical lab that we need to address. If it's something that is specific to the problem that they're coming in for, a lot of times we'll just say, I just tell them to go look at that part that they're monitoring. And then I tell them, if you continually see something that's popping up that is worrying you, even if it's not something that you feel like you're having symptoms of, but you see it every time, then highlight it for me, come in, we'll sit down and talk about it. We'll ask questions. We'll kind of figure out what that means. So I try to give them leeway in terms of how much involvement they want from me. But at the same time, fear can be a lot, and you read that and all of a sudden people can go into fear, like, oh my gosh, I have all these things that are like red, my whole world is crashing. And so I do my very best to make sure they know this does not mean there's anything abnormal. Look at my scan, it has these, in here. We're basically just trying to optimize our frequencies as much as possible, even though we have so many things that come, in contact with us in our environment that are changing those frequencies. We're just trying to keep them optimized. That help a little bit?
Sure. And then can these, oh yeah, for sure. And then can the vital scans also flag possible things that may manifest 3 to 5 years out? If not,
I mean, I would assume they probably could. Cancer shows up 3 to 5 years before we see it usually, right? I mean, disease before it actually pops up in the physical, before we're really aware of it, it's probably there for a while, or at least the frequency has been off, for a while. Yeah, but would we see it 3 to 5 years? I don't know, Mike. I haven't had it that long. I've had my device for 2 years. So I couldn't answer that question. That's probably be something, if they're gathering data, they'll be finding out here pretty soon. So.
Sure. Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there a correlation between a 1 or 2? Okay. Yeah, so hi Mitchell. I don't think that 1 or 2 means deficient and that 9 or 10 means excess. I really don't, because I've seen things that don't add up to me. For example, like B levels, when I know that they were totally low, like looked like it was a 9, or different things like that. So I think what it is more than anything is that it's that if 5 is a completely perfect frequency, and when we go further outside to the 9s and 1s, there's just more static that's getting in the way from that being a clear signal to the body, if that makes sense. So versus being high or low, the way these reports show it is more that the frequency is not completely normal. It has static in it. What is the title of Bruce Tanio's books? Gosh, I don't remember. Such a long time ago. Look him up. He has tons of information. His stuff was 1994, was really when he was doing a lot of his work, 94 to 96. You'll find it. There's tons of information from him. His Hertz scale, I absolutely love it. I use it all the time. I show it to people. It's a really good visual. It makes sense, for people. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, actually 2 parts, something that was just brought up on the 1s and 9s. Can the 1 just be like, it's been a longer ongoing problem, and 9 is kind of like just something that's kind of passing?
I mean, it's possible, but I haven't necessarily seen that pattern, and I haven't heard that anywhere. Even speaking with Lauren, that's not how he describes it either. So I don't think that's what it means.
That's just been coincidental. Okay. And so the second question is, how do you use I love the vitals, that just resonates with me, but how do you decide what to do in the comprehensive, and how often do you do the comprehensive?
So I do the comprehensive as an initial scan. I do all of them as an initial scan for people. So they'll get all of the reports. And then we oftentimes it's when there are physical things going on, if they've had injuries, musculoskeletal pains, shoulder issues, things where we're going to be looking at tendons, blood flow, or if we need to follow stuff. I've certainly done it for that. I don't use the comprehensive as much as I do the others, but that's when I would use it for sure.
Okay, and so if someone had, say they had a torn ligament or something like that, then would you use the comprehensive and optimize that, or would you rather use Cephi?
Both.
Okay,
I would run and optimize, and I would do the Cephi, absolutely.
and you just use the comprehensive on whatever areas
Yeah.
needed, but not the.
Yeah, because you can highlight which areas you want to have scanned. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's nice because they don't let you do it more than once a day. And so you're not getting too much of that good thing, right? So we're not overshooting or causing all these problems potentially as far as the optimization, which I really like, that they don't just let people keep doing it.
Okay, and I have another question. So I also use a lot of tuning forks and singing bowls and things like that. So does that interfere with these, or does it work in conjunction with like your tones and everything?
Oh, I think they work together. Like, so that's what I feel is going to be the future of medicine. Like, we are going to have massive centers that are going to be playing huge Tibetan bowls and crystal therapy. And I mean, it's that vibration that is so impactful and does so many incredible things. The Tibetan bowls and tuning forks, those are actually clearing blocks in the biofield that's around us, so it's going in and energetically clearing those forests. No, it's all, I mean, I would ask questions if you felt like it was too much, Amy. It sounds like you do a lot of work like that. So certainly muscle tests and be like, does the body need this today? Does the body not? But all in all, those are the types of things we need to be doing on more of a regular basis in order to combat all the negative destructive frequencies we're getting all the time.
Okay. And thank you so much for doing this. This has been great.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm happy to do this. It was confusing for me. I mean, I'm a physician. This is what I do, right? I mean, I'm a family doc. They come in, I'm ordering all these lab results, I'm interpreting all the time, or in the ER and stuff. And the first time I saw the AO report, I was blown away by like all the information. But then I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I even supposed to talk to people about this? It's way too much information. So I'm happy that I can give a little bit of assurance and help with that somewhat.
Hello there. Could I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. By the way, I'm so happy about this because this is the kind of context I learn in. And the others, whatever goes on Wednesday nights, it's amusing, but it's not like really deep. This is much more, and I know this is just an introduction, so I'm grateful. Here, let me, I hate looking just at photographs when you can look at people. Okay, there we go. Hi.
Hi there.
Hi from my friend. He told me about this at the last minute, and so I just hopped on, and I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, I've had 1.5 million questions. I'm going to only ask half of those million right now.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. The main thing, there are many, but one is like the 1 and the 2 and the 9 and the 10. I know you addressed that a little bit, and someone else asked the question. I thought it was an interesting one, the way they framed it about slower and faster frequencies, and because I've been trained in Chinese medicine, Chinese energetics, I think about excess and deficiency. So that's my way of kind of navigating the vitals. But if that's not the best, frame for it, what would you suggest?
Yeah, so I've never received confirmation from anyone to tell me that that's what that means. Now, I will be totally honest with you. That's how I was kind of interpreting it as well. And I can't remember what I came across, but I was like, this doesn't make sense, because we asked questions, and I think it was B12, to be honest. I think it was like a 9, and we kept getting that the person was super low on B12 and needed B12. And I'm like, if this is saying excess, then this doesn't make sense. So I started questioning and kind of asking myself, what does this mean? And it makes more sense to me from a frequency standpoint. The smaller waves, the shorter wavelengths, right?
Yeah.
That that frequency is changing slightly to either one that has, shorter wavelengths and taller peaks, or it's changing slightly to one that has longer wavelengths and taller peaks, or just the opposite of what I just said. But I believe that's actually what's happening. The frequency is actually changing slightly, and that's where the static piece comes in, right? So I think you can probably be low even if you're a 9. And that's where I would go to muscle test and ask questions that way, just to get a definitive answer.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Just to, I heard someone else ask a question. Oh dear, my thing is running down. Let me make sure to plug it in now. In answer to another question that came up, and you answered something about cancer. What did I want to say? Oh yes, having used energy medicine systems for a long time, I don't know if it relates to the AO scan, but I bet it does. When you get a reading and it says cancer, and the numbers are pretty on the high side, as you properly said, it doesn't mean that it's materially manifest. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that it's heading in that direction. And that could be a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years. The thing is that is actually not so important as the idea that if things keep going in exactly the same direction they're going right now when I check the test, then that will likely be an eventuality. However, as soon as you optimize, you're changing the course of the behavior of that frequency, i.e. the associated, disease. You see? So any change will change the course of that probability.
Yes.
So we're always in control from that point of view,
Yes.
Now, if you keep running subsequent tests and it keeps showing up in the same way, then that means that there's some level of entrenchment. Now, that might be genetic. I'm not big on genetics, but it might be, I'm more in epigenetics. But nonetheless, it could be there. It could be there for any number of different reasons. That's not necessarily what's so important as much as exercising some leverage to shift its trajectory. I just wanted to share that.
Yes. I appreciate you saying that, Mitchell, because that's exactly the way that I look at it as well. We're optimizing, and we're helping to change that frequency in the moment that we actually found the frequency was abnormal, right? So if it's continuing to pop up every time you scan in the reds, even if it helps to optimize, but the next time you come back, it's in the red again, and the next time you come back, it's in the red again, that is something we should then take a look at.
That's right.
And we can address. And that's when I have people do it versus the first time they get the report and it's just like, oh my gosh, what the heck, my whole world.
Exactly. That's why, in the other systems that I've used, we don't, in a way, I love the reports that the AO scan gives, quite honestly. And that's really what kind of turned me into, a follower, because it mimicked, Mike introduced me to it, and it mimicked a blood test that I just happened to have had from a normal routine medical checkup a few days before. I went, oh my God, that's an energetic blood test. And it was just so right on. I'm not surprised about the accuracy of frequency medicine, but when it's staring at you in the face, it's kind of convincing. But another question I'd love to ask that I don't, no doubt someone else has already asked, but I got here a little late, is when you've got 4s, 5s, 6s in the initial, baseline scan, and then it turns to red or to one of the extreme criticals in the next one. I don't make too much of that either, by the way. I think of it, I take always the long-term view, it's not alarming at all. It just means that when you line all these things up in a good way, there are going to be one or two little things that go off.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of look at it, but I was hoping for a more enlightened perspective than mine.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of what I had explained. That it's almost like I don't want to say shotgun approach, but we have this series of tones and frequencies, and that things are moving like this. But, we have this going through the middle, and they're kind of moving all around it in order to try and balance, like a pendulum, is what I say. So it's kind of this
Yes.
oscillating. It's been pushed. Sometimes we overshoot a little bit, but like
I
you
see
said,
what you mean.
it usually
Right.
comes back as we continue the scans and everything else. So it's not
Right.
something for people to get worried about. Oh my gosh, I went from a 7 to a 9. What the heck? Now all of a sudden it's off.
Yeah. Always take it all with a grain of salt or two. But one last question for now, and that is, what do you think about running the vitals on a daily basis? Is that too much?
No, I don't think running the vitals once a day is too much. I think that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if there's something that you're dealing with that's a chronic issue but is flared or exacerbated, or even just acutely sick, doing the vitals every single day, it can be immensely helpful.
all right. Listen, I'm going to ask one more. It's your fault because you kind of allured me into it, and I'm playing with you. That is the body scans. I was not paying attention to the AO scan for, I don't know, a few weeks. And the next thing I know, the body scans are installed. And I go, wow, cool. I really like it, but I don't begin to understand how to interpret. I don't know because it's not on a range. I was pushing for the range, the 1 through 9 at first, when I first came on a year plus ago, because it was all reds and greens. I said, no, that's not refined enough. And thankfully, they really did expand the enhanced view. Really glad about it. But in the body scans, all I see, I mean, I think I died and I came back because everything is acute or chronic that I see. Does it report on anything in the middle?
No, just acute and chronic. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So it tells you if there's
Then I really
chronic
did
stuff.
die.
Yeah, I mean, I
did.
would look
I
more
died.
at the chronic stuff on the body scan versus the
Yeah.
acute. I think the chronic is what they're really wanting to point out to you, because that means that it's been there for a while. It really needs to be addressed. If you're doing vitals and other things on a regular basis, that's helping the acute stuff every day. But it's really just a key for you to look more at the
Okay.
chronic.
And is the optimization in the body scan, is that really helping to move
Yeah.
out of the chronic realm into the more normalized, balanced realm?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's helping with that. Again, I really take that multifactorial approach with people. So, let's say they come in and they have an autoimmune or thyroid disease or something like that going on. It's not just the scan. I'm also, I do the plant therapy or essential oils, depending on what the person wants. We
Sure.
look at the foods that are going to be supporting the thyroid. We look at the other things that particularly support, that organ system, so that we're tackling it from comprehensively and are going to be more effective. Because I think if you're just doing the AO scan and thinking that you're just going to see tons of results just by doing that, but not making other changes,
Yes.
you're just kind of
It's a
the
little
same
thin.
insults kind of just keep causing a lot of the same problems. So.
Yep, great. I totally agree. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
really
you're
appreciate
so
it.
welcome. Okay, so what about VD? Are you talking about vaginal discharge, or what's the VD?
So I did his scan the other day, and someone showed, I mean, they were showing syphilis,
Oh.
chlamydia, like several things. And she's like, oh my God, I've been married 26 years. I've never had anything, you know, but I mean, it was like crabs. It was like multiple things. And she's like, I hope this isn't predicting the future.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I've been seeing, so that part of the scan is probably the most difficult to explain to people, because then they're like, what the heck?
Did she tell her husband?
Yeah, I think she is definitely wanting to talk to him about some stuff.
You know, it's a frequency thing as well. So, you know, those frequencies are off, they're out of balance, they're not quite within the normal range, but that doesn't, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that she has any of that stuff. As long as they're optimizing and it's not consistently showing up and she's not having symptoms, you know, then I would do my very best for her not to worry about that, because as you probably know, her thinking about and focusing on that can also cause problems. So
Yeah, well, I was wondering because so I was just trying to explain to her that it could be something similar, because she's had horrible chronic bladder infections. Okay, and doctors are putting her on long-term like antibiotics for months, which now it's created all these other issues. But anytime she had sex, then she would get this horrible bladder infection. And so, but there have been infidelity issues in their marriage. And so I was wondering if maybe it was emotional, like if that's like in the back of her mind, that could be causing that to show up on the scan, was kind of what my intuition was like. Maybe that's where that's coming from.
yeah, definitely. Well, just
Or if
UTIs
there's
in
something,
general,
or
UTIs are very emotional. They're all about being quote unquote pissed off, you know, for lack of a better word. And there's so much emotion with that, and especially with anything that has to do with you know, genitals, diseases like that. It's just such an emotional thing typically that's involved with all of that. So I think you're on the right track, and as far as, you know, where to go, and just telling her that, you know, even though that there has been infidelity, I mean, she can definitely go get tested and just have some peace of mind, you know.
oh, she's got lots of, she's been tested, but I was
Okay.
wondering if it was either emotional or if there is something, if she has something going on that hasn't been caught yet, and that's why so much of this is.
Well, yeah, that's right. But yeah, so I mean, being tested for those, going and having an exam and getting a test to make sure, that might bring her some peace of mind. But I think this is probably more emotional than anything else.
Because that could be showing up on the scan too, right?
Yes.
Emotional stuff, not just because it's energy.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So whatever emotion she might be having about it can be blocking, right, those frequencies, and can be interfering with them.
Okay, and while we're on this, what do you use to remove and release like cellular memories of things?
So I do a lot of I call it Reiki just because people have heard of that, but it's really my own energy work.
Like Psyche, I saw your thing that you did. Like I do Psyche, and yours was close, but a little different because we can't use that. Yeah. The hookup with Psyche.
Yeah. So I'll ask questions, and then will sometimes if we're trying to change a subconscious belief system, you know, we'll go in and we'll do that with muscle testing. Touching them certain places helps to ground, you know, that in, depending on you know, what's happening. So I incorporate that into my sessions. If I'm specifically helping with like cellular repair, Sometimes I will do like a series of essential oils that are specific to that disorder. Again, there's body systems, you know, that I can go to, whether it's if it's autoimmune or thyroid related, or maybe it's cardiovascular or something like that. And then I will use those tools to help get to the body system or the cellular at the root cause, to help implement, augment, and just really enhance what the AO scan is doing. I also love CBD. I love hemp, as far as what that can do at the cellular level, working at the mitochondrial level, helping with energy, sleeping, all across the board. It's absolutely phenomenal. So that's another one that I use to really help in my sessions, you know, get to the cellular level along with the AO scanner.
Okay, good, thanks.
What do you find more effective on Cepheid, broadcasting frequencies or imprinting them into water or sugar pellets, or?
It depends. All of it, all of it, honestly. So I know a lady who working very closely with her doctor. I have to make sure to say that. Her blood pressure medication. She had too many side effects. She could not tolerate her blood pressure medications at all, and just blood pressure is going up and up and up and up. So what she finally did is she took the medication, used the sugar pills, imprinted it, and is taking the sugar pills. I think she takes them every 3 to 4 hours, you know, for the mechanism of action as far as how long it takes. And she's been able to manage her blood pressures with the sugar pills doing the imprinting. Water wise, I will take stuff and imprint it in the morning for my kids, send them to school. If they're dealing with a cough or if they're feeling nervous, they think it makes a big difference. I feel like it makes a big difference. Honestly, they're all just great in different ways. I mean, you can run the Cepheid frequency in the background if you want to, or you can imprint it in your water and then just drink it. It really is just whatever resonates best for you, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Then Nicole, if my 4-year-old won't wear the bone conducting headset I have been running his scans without, I figure it's better to wait. Yeah, exactly. Yep, he can hear, he can just be in the room. I don't wear the bone conducting headset. It doesn't stay in my phone. It's total pain. I just hold it. I can feel it. I mean, sometimes I put it to my ear, but you don't have to have the bone conducting headset. It does, I think, especially if you're the first couple of times that you're really building that energetic imprint of the person, it's a good idea, but it's not necessary every time. You're welcome. Any other questions? No? All right. Well,
But
thank you.
I have one about running Cepheid.
Yes.
So I've talked to them at Solex and they say you don't really need to run more than 2 minutes at a time every 48 hours for something like a whole playlist. I was trying to run it all the time, but it would stop on me all the time. And then she's like, no, just do the 2-minute one, run it through. So is there a guideline on that?
Well, I mean, I think we're developing it, to be honest. It depends on what the person has going on. If they're acutely sick and they have a cough, I'm going to have them run the Cepheid maybe every hour for 2 minutes, right, while they're awake. If it's just something that they're wanting to just add into their preventative routine, then I think every 48 hours is a really good idea. But sometimes they need it more often. And again, I know I keep going back to the questions, asking questions and muscle testing. And I hope you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. If not, please let me know. But a lot of times, Pam, what I'm finding is it's just everyone's so different. I have to go specific to that person and kind of find out what they need. and see if they need it more often. So I'll just be like, okay, do we need to do the cephi twice a day? No. Okay. Is it 5 times, less than 5 times? Oh, okay. Less than, I'll just go through that process, figure out what it is, and then have them do it for a couple of days or whatever time frame we got.
Okay. Where are you located?
I am in Boise, Idaho, Meridian,
Oh.
Idaho, really.
Okay.
Where do
Long
you
ways-
live?
Denver area.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I do
All
a lot of stuff
One
online
last question.
and sessions, virtual stuff, because of course this can be done that way. But I also travel to Bend about once a month to see people over there as well, Bend, Oregon.
Okay.
Smells good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, can I
I
ask
had a
one last
question. Hello?
Yes.
Oops.
Oh, I was wondering, when the scan says 9 current and previous, and it doesn't change, when people ask, what would you say to them? What does that really mean?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, especially the first time. What I tell people is to just pay it once you get a run of scans, 3, 4, 5 in a row, and if it's continually popping up abnormal and it's not optimizing, it's definitely an area that needs to be looked at.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, I was just, people, and then, I know you see your doctor and you have patients, but maybe you could help me here. If one isn't a doctor, what would be the shortest and easiest way to explain a report that somebody gets and they're like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming? What do you just say? I mean, just something simple.
Well, I tell them, I tell them I preface it with, you're going to see a lot of information.
Yeah.
Don't try not to be overwhelmed. Everyone's reports have a bunch of colors on them. I tell them right at the beginning that every single person has 9s and 1s. Like, I've yet to see a report that doesn't have 9s and 1s on it. And so I think that brings them a little bit of peace of mind. And then I go through the first one with them, usually from the beginning. I just walk through it with them, and I just explain it, kind of how I did, in this presentation tonight. I'll go through the meridians sometimes if they don't, a lot of people don't use that tech or terminology, or they don't know what chakras are, they don't know what the meridians are. So I'll sometimes go into some education and explain some of that stuff, but I basically try to talk them through it, show how it's optimizing, ease some concerns, and then I essentially set them up to go home to look at those future scans and do some comparisons on any areas that they were concerned about, or if it again was something that they came in their chief complaint that points me in a direction that I need to be specifically looking.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you sell the AO scan machines to patients that are interested in purchasing, or does that not come up at all?
I know I do. Yeah, no, if someone wants to buy a machine, absolutely. So, I do like demos, and I'll invite people to demonstrations. And, in that I talk about the 3 different ways you can do the AO device. You can go see someone, you can purchase your own, or you can become, an advocate and then also sell it. To be honest, the whole selling thing is hard for me because that's not, I of course want to make money, but my interest is in helping people. And so it is difficult. And I typically don't even discuss that piece unless I find that the patient or client, that they're wanting or needing to use the device on almost a regular basis versus coming in to see me. It really just depends kind of on where the conversation goes, what the person is asking. I definitely invite all of my patients to come to the demonstration, so they always have an opportunity to learn more about it and learn about purchasing a device if they want to.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are you going to be doing this again, Elisa?
I am happy to do another one of these. If you guys feel it's been beneficial and helpful,
Yes.
I'd be happy to. I
Yes.
definitely,
Yes, for sure.
okay.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Let me put that there and let me put this there.
Awesome.
Okay.
I love it.
Oh no, truly, this is, and it's not just us picking your brain, although your brain is wonderful. It's fun to pick, but I think that I'm having been doing this for a long time, actually, with different systems, as I made reference to before. You know, everyone has their own unique experience in the space. And, you know, to the extent that there's any little bit of a group forming, we can really help each other understand and get our arms around this kind of technology. And the whole space of frequency medicine and healing, vibrational medicine with, you know, human being.
Yes, yes. This is the medicine that is going to treat cancer, not specifically the AO divides, but energy medicine, frequency medicine. This is what's going to do so many things for us in our future. It's just now getting started. I'm like really, really excited to see where we're going to go. Like we're literally creating a brand new medicine with what we're doing here.
Well, you know, I like the historical perspective, honestly, because I mean, I like Royal Remington Rife, and I know his story pretty well, and I know what obstacles he ran into and why. And it really has much to do with money and power and control of markets and all of that stuff that we really don't like. But energy medicine has been around with us for a long time. And as an acupuncturist, who never really liked needles, by the way, you know, that's energy medicine that goes back 5,000 to 8,000 years. So, you know, there are lots of examples of ancient forms. You keep mentioning aromatherapy and the use of, and flower essences. These are ancient. Frankincense and myrrh. Guess who was talking about that? So in some ways, it's not really new at all. But what has happened is, of course, we have used technology and software and all that to make it more like, I describe a lot of this as computerized kinesiology.
It
I mean,
is.
can you imagine doing muscle testing of 5,000 items?
Yeah.
You'll be there for about 6 years per patient, you know. So if you look at it from this larger historical perspective, I think it brings another level of credibility to it too. And then understand the fact that it's been nuanced through and refined through the use of computer technology, which I think is fantastic.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cannabis is most likely one of the ingredients in the holy anointing oil. I mean, it's from the Bible. Jesus talks about
That's
it
right.
being an incredible product. I mean, we used to live to be 200-300 years old. It's because
look at
the things we did
Methuselah.
that kept our frequency elevated, you know. I mean,
That's
people
right.
they were having babies sometimes at 60s and 70s. Women didn't go through menopause at 50 that long ago. It's different now. Our world is different, and now the things that have been suppressed for so long are finally coming out. They can't keep them down anymore because people are waking up, honestly, to this technology. And it's ancient technology. It's been around since the Egyptian times. You know, it's incredible. So
exactly.
I'm having a class next week that is a frequency class. It's called Elevate U. And I'm going over the right supplements, you know, the newest technologies that we have, the AO scanner included, as well as others that we have. We're talking about foods, all sorts of different things next Tuesday. So I will send out an email that will have all that information in it for you guys if you want to sign up for that and everything. And
I'm going to put in my email if I may.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Is there a website that we
Yes.
can reference?
There will be
Okay.
a link, yeah, and in the email that I'll send you, there will be a link, just this to sign up for the class next week. Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yep, I'll put it in an email when I send
Yeah.
it out, here tonight.
Beautiful.
Okay.
beautiful. Well, thank you so
Well-
much. I mean,
You are so welcome.
really
Thank you guys
appreciate it.
very much, and I'm happy, you know, if you, I'll send that email. You're more than welcome to send me emails if you have questions. May not answer within a couple of hours, but I'm usually within the day. I typically try and get back to people as much as possible. I'm truly in this. I want everyone to succeed, everyone to do well, whether you're selling it, an advocate, a practitioner, or just using it for yourself, your family. So please know that, and know that I'm here to support you however I can, okay?
And is it
Beautiful.
recorded tonight?
Is what now?
Great, thank
Is
you.
it recorded tonight where somebody can watch it later?
Yes, I have it recorded, and I will get that uploaded to my YouTube channel, and I'll send that out in the email as well.
Oh,
You
beautiful.
can
That's
forward
great.
that to people, share it with people if you'd like, whatever you'd like to do.
Okay,
That's
my
great.
son couldn't do
Great.
it tonight, and he was very interested. He's a chiropractor.
Oh, awesome. That's wonderful.
And so he's like, find out if it's recorded. I want to know. So, okay, I'll get it.
Okay, great. I can put it on my YouTube channel too, from yours.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you're more
Yeah,
than welcome
I'll
to
get
do
you.
that.
I've got a whole network, so.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Hey, I wanted to tell y'all real quick, if y'all didn't know this, there's some videos on YouTube that have training for the big, professional $30,000 scanner, which of course our device doesn't do all of that yet. However, they've said that it's going to have all that technology. So it's super exciting to see where this is heading.
Right.
But also, whenever you watch the training on that, they go into more information about what the numbers mean. So I don't know if our device correlates with that just yet, but that might give us a clue how to read some of those numbers.
Do you
So
have links to those, Amy?
Is that
I
on
can,
YouTube?
I have it in my history, and I can find it, and I can respond to the email that you sent me and give that to you. But yeah, there's a guy, he did, and they're really short little video. It's the guy who sells them, and it's just a training on how to use it, but it goes into a little bit more. But whenever you see everything that's on that machine, and knowing that that's what's coming on this one,
Yeah.
it's like, holy smokes. I mean, as exciting as this is, it isn't nothing yet.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just more and more good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you again so much. You have a wonderful
you.
evening.
Thank you very
Okay, thanks again.
You're
Yeah.
so welcome.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Very
thank you.
Very delightful. Thank
You all take care.
You do
Okay,
too.
you too. Good night.